quiet. We're going to start with the questions and answers, and I think we've got different folks who will answer the different areas of their expertise. So, Kathy, we're going to start with the questions at the microphone.
So first I wanted to say one of the hopes for Laughing Waters was that we could do silver and gold projects there. But as a leader, it's been my understanding that silver and gold board projects cannot benefit Girl Scouting. So, yeah. When you said that, every leader in this room turned around like, what is she talking about? So, it has to be a continuous project that benefits the community. And it can't benefit Girl Scouting.
So I'm the one who said that, and I wasn't Golden Board Girl Scout in my council, but I have to admit I'll check on that. I'll check on that.
It's changed. I'm a Golden Board too, but it's changed. Yeah.
So if that was wrong, then I apologize, but I'll check with staff and see if that's a possibility. Yeah, I imagine there also could be other projects. I mean, the goal with Laughing Waters is that there are so many pieces, especially to the reforestation and working on plant habitat, that we really like to see girls get involved in that process and take a leadership role. So I'll
benefit the new badge, the Girl Scout Ways badge. The Girl Scout Ways, one of the requirements is to help at a Girl Scout camp, but it can't be a silver or gold project.
All right, so I really appreciate that comment, and we'll get that detail worked out about how that will work.
So then my question is, as far as camp safety goes for girls, if we're going to have community fields at Laughing Waters, how will we protect the girls? Because now all camp staff and all GSEP staff have to have background checks. And even here at Shelly Ridge, we have, I saw the plan has like a playground and a spray park right behind the pool here. And we have the housing development back there. We have people come from back there all the time on our property, always walking their dogs and trying to sneak into the pool. So I'm curious how we're going to keep girls safe with sort of welcoming the community in the ACE Center, the community fields at Laughing Waters.
Well, first of all, safety is always primary, and I think that when there was mention of community fields, it wasn't necessarily to invite the community in at the same time that girls are there. So, I mean, you know, when we work through the programs, we want to make sure that girls are safe, that it is a Girl Scout property, it's a private property, and so those types of details will absolutely be worked out as we implement our programs. Thank you.
Okay, now we'll take a question. I'm going to move over here so my back is not to you. So the question is, so every camp has green in the primary focus except Shelly Ridge. And I will...
If by green they're referring to sustainable design, we actually see Shelly Ridge as being one of the leaders associated with that. So it will, all of the properties will include that kind of effort.
Now we'll take a question from the microphone.
Your plans do look fabulous, I will admit. However, for those of us that live very far away from all of these camps...
Would you put the mic closer to you?
I'm sorry. For all of us that live very far away from all of these camps, I find it daunting and wonder what consideration you have given to the volunteers that have to drive so far. I mean, really, quite frankly, to drive to Moseywood to do voting for us is just, for a weekend, is just not feasible. So what consideration have you all given to those of us that live very far away from these camps, to our ability to offer programming to our girls down in southern Chester County? It's just far. You know, you talked about busing. Are you going to pay for our busing? I've put a kid on a bus and had to pay $65 for them to be bused. So, you know, the distance concerns me for all of these. Thank you.
I think we definitely understand the distance concern, and that's come up before. And the busing program is an attempt to address that. And I think that we would have, the goal of the busing program is to bring more girls to the camps. So that's got to be financially feasible. I mean, it doesn't meet our mission if people can't afford it. And I also think it's partly part of our mission to bring girls who are not currently participating because they don't get any transportation or they're too far away. So again, the financing structure would have to match with that if it's going to accomplish our goals.
Now we're going to take a question from a text. How many beds will be available at camps while the master plan is being implemented? What percentage of the membership will be able to camp each night? And Greg can certainly take that, but I will also tell you that this is part of the next phase, is to do the specific count and to know how many beds we will need to implement and how we reach the number of beds that we need. So that will all be revealed in the fall of 2012.
Basically, everything that's existing is going to remain as we begin this effort. Our initial, based on our discussions with the property committee, our initial focus will be on creating enough additional year-round troop lodges or units to replace what we're losing with the other 3 sites.
Now a question for the microphone.
First of all, this plan is very aggressive and impressive, but my question is, first of all, it's rather astounding that you're going to add all of this addition to those 3 camps. Particularly the development at Shelly Ridge really concerns me when you already have Camp Tweedale and Camp Towey with those types of facilities for troop camping on the weekends, and now you're going to add that to Shelly Ridge. Why are you doing that when you have those 2 camps already out there? They're usable, they're functional. Why?
Okay, thanks.
I think part of the decision about sustainability was that a higher number of camps is not an efficient way to provide the same number of services to a large number of folks. So inherent in the process is that we have to slim down the overall number. That providing administration and monitoring the facilities for more than 3 camps is not going to be a long-term sustainable model. So if we have to go down to a certain number of facilities, because that's what we can reasonably maintain, then we're trying to build those capacity on those facilities to provide service to the maximum number of girls. And I do think there's an economy of scale that we're taking into account here. We're dependent on that.
I have a question. I want to know why you are so adamant about closing Camp Tweedale, which is the only camp in Chester County. It's the most accessible camp to every school district in Chester County, plus several counties. It's less than an hour's drive for all girls in Chester County, and many from the other camps. Most of the other camps are more than an hour's drive for girls from Chester County. It's an easily accessible camp from the main highways. It's very central to major cities and to several tourist locations, the Jersey Shore, Lancaster, Gettysburg, Western New York, Philly, Boston, Washington. It has both a pool and a waterfront. There's no other camp that has that. And you're talking about putting in a pool at Laughing Waters. I'm not finished. Camp Tweedale has handicap accessibility. It has a progression program. It offers a lot of primitive facilities up through cabins. We're talking about taking away a lot of tents and getting rid of a lot of primitive facilities. It has land around it to expand and develop, and it's very affordable. And it also serves girls from a low-income community down in that area who are not going to be going, families would not want to send them far away to live 2 or 3 hours on a bus to a camp. Why are you closing Camp Tweedale? That's my question.
Yes, I'm happy to answer that question. The answer is that we have actually been studying our properties and facilities for now over 4 years, and we have a large inventory, and we've had a decrease in the number of girls who've been participating in overnight camping. So over a long period of time, we actually cannot afford, as a council, to maintain all of these properties at a high level to be competitive in the marketplace. So this plan is a vision for the future. It's unfortunate that in this particular case, Camp Tweedale was the property that was selected, that it is not a property that we will invest in the future. However, there are other properties that we will invest in. The proposal that was presented by the committee is one that also includes busing. I will say that when the councils came together, we have a very large portfolio of campsites. All of the campsites are good campsites, and you know, it's a decision that the council has made, and so we are looking forward and really trying to put forward a very important vision for the future. I think now we probably want to take a question from a text question that is coming in. So the question is, for Laughing Water, will there be availability to house 2 smaller troops or up to 50 within a specific unit?
Yes, we've got things set up where 2 small troops could share a unit. I don't think right now that we don't have an individual building that would end up holding 50. But for example, I mean, that's something that we could look at in terms of the details as we move into the next phase.
Question from the microphone?
Hi, my name is Shelly. I'm from the Independence Square area, and I texted a bunch of questions, and I'm not sure if they went through. How do you plan to raise the money for all of these improvements, and what is the timeline for fundraising?
Okay, so the question is that came in from the text and Mike, which is, how do you plan to raise the money for all of these improvements, and what is the timeline for fundraising? The one thing that is missing from this presentation, and it's obvious, which is the actual cost as well as the timeline. I think what we said to the membership is that this meeting was about presenting the vision. Later in the fall, we will present a timeline, but we are unable at this particular point to put a number out there, and that is because over a period of time, you really have to first do a feasibility study to see what is the capacity of raising funds in the community, as well as then going out and fundraising. So it is to look at the capacity of raising the money in the community, to phase this vision in, as well as then also present a timeline for you in the fall.
I just want to quickly add to that. I think a part of the fundraising plan is approaching corporate partners and educational partners to see what the capacity might be for specific types of program, and then to work a plan for development based around those fundraising sources.
And I will also add that we do have an opinion of probable cost. We do know the cost. We do know that it's a multi-year project, and we need to go to the board first in September. We're going to talk in detail about these things with the board. We're going to share that later in the fall with the membership. So I do want you to understand that we do understand this. We do have a probable cost. We do know it's a multi-year plan, and we will share that with you once we've shared it with the board.
The next part of my question came up. Where will construction begin and which location is first?
I don't know which locations we're going to be in first. I know we do have to talk about capacity and how we continue the same capacity that we have now. But I have no idea where we'll begin. We'll be able to share that with you shortly after we speak with the board in September. So we'll know that.
And the next part of my text was...
I'm sorry. There are probably 11 people behind you, and just so in fairness to others, if we would just pass the mic, we will accept the questions that we can't get to. We will accept the cards, and then also if people will continue to text in your questions, just like after the last meeting we had frequently asked questions, we'll put that up on the website. So thank you very much. Yes.
Hi, I'm Lori Angeli, and I'm also from Chester County, and it took me over an hour and a half to get here. This is the closest of all of the places that are being proposed for renovation changes. Just the research that we've all done, that 70%, if you're to draw a horizontal line through GSCP, 70% of the membership is below that line, and all of these camps are above. So this is a significant issue, the driving time. Having an hour and a half to 3 hours is significant and enough. I've been a leader for over 10 years now for 4 different troops. that's going to dramatically impact troop camping because it's a very long time to be driving and we're just not going to do it. We'll find alternate places to go. However, I do have a question for Mr. Copeland because I used to be a leader in Charlotte at the Hornets Nest Council. So I've been following their progress because I know that you designed one of their new camps. And it's interesting to me that they have about 18,000 in their girl membership, and they used to have 7 camps. They sold off a bunch. They were down to 3, and then they've added a 4th in Iredell County, which is actually north of where their council is. And I'm just curious, like how the formula comes up. If they have 18,000 girls and they're going to have 4 camps, and we have 40,000 girls, and we have 4 properties of which 3 of them are really inaccessible. I'm just kind of curious how that formula works.
Well, one, there is, as far as I know, that council was the only site we worked on is the new property, but that they were selling 3 other properties in order to then invest all of their energy into this one property. Now, other than maybe a day camp, I know their major camp properties have all been disposed of. So they're really focusing on one primary site.
Okay, so we'll take a question from the text, and the question is, any consideration of solar or geothermal heating and cooling? And I think we haven't really gotten this specific into the actual facilities yet, but I would say overall yes, that we are really focused on green buildings and that we'd like to work in some really unique pieces. And again, have the girls experience the selecting of what turns out to be green and screening that and implementing it.
Okay, question from the microphone.
Hi there. My name is Bethany. I'm from Southern Chester County now. However, I grew up as a Moseywood girl. I was a counselor there, and I attended Moseywood and Woodhaven throughout the 11 years of my So I have a little bit of a unique view of what's going on here. Sorry, what? Oh, sorry. I used the mic speaking. I wanted to ask a question related to what you said about the number of girls staying overnight has decreased. And I'd like to just comment that the idea of what is camping has been changed so much, and the training that has been presented to leaders has changed so much that we haven't fostered a love of outdoors and what is really camping. And therefore, I think that that's part of what's shifting. So you said you want to provide robust outdoor programs. You want to create an amazing high ropes course at Moseywood. There is a high ropes and low ropes there, or at least there was, and it went into disrepair because people weren't willing to undergo the safety or the training and to keep all of that encouragement up. I'd like to know, what are you going to do to keep girls interested in what is real camping and encourage things like a love of nature and the use of a composting toilet versus the environmental impact of a flush toilet and more showers? And the leader as well. We need better training. My outdoor training was a joke. It was like being at the Hilton.
Thank you. The entire program, the outdoor program that we presented, will have additional training for staff, additional training for girls, and it is to narrow our focus. We believe that what was presented, first of all, it came from the membership, it came from the girls, it came from going out and exploring what is competitive in the marketplace. We believe by narrowing our focus and narrowing our focus of resources that we will have a greater opportunity to invest and raise the product that we are providing for girls.
I'll add to that, and I think what you're saying is absolutely true, and that's a theme that we heard through the feedback. And what we're trying to do is do what we do, but do it better, and really excel in it and provide some top programs. And that's going to require a significant investment in actual physical resources, as well as training staff and training volunteers. And in order to do that, we really need to concentrate on a couple of really key areas. But I do think introducing people to the outdoors and taking away that fear of camping out overnight is a big part of what we're trying to do. And we need to increase people's comfort level bit by bit and bring girls from a traditional inside environment outside so they learn kind of bit by bit what they can do.
Okay, we'll take a question from the text. How will all these programs be staffed? I think we just addressed that somewhat. And just the staff will be augmented, and there will be training, and there will be more staff to handle all these specialized programs. So as far as any more detail, we don't know that yet, but certainly that will be handled at a later date.
I think what is also important to know is that the future includes partnerships. And so with each one of these camp sites, it's going to be very important for us to identify key partners that we can work with that will increase our intelligences around the product that we are offering.
My name is Lori. I am one of the Philadelphia Philadelphia leaders, but I have a unique perspective. I've been part of various councils in this area since I was in first grade. I've been in Delaware County, which has no camp facilities left. I've been in Chester County. I worked Tweedale. I sent my daughter there this year. I've been to Woodhaven. I've been to Shelly Ridge. How are we going to prevent what has now happened in Manioc in the schools, losing all of our Chester County people? Closing Tweedale, and I love Tweedale. Manioc in Philadelphia closed various Catholic schools. Now they have no schools in Manioc and Philly. How are we going to prevent losing all of our Chester County people? Because they are a significant number. They do have a very long run. When we close Tweedale, and when they close Tweedale, as you guys have obviously decided to do, however much we may object, are they going to move the Conestoga wagons, which are a very popular item at camp, and a unique camping experience amongst the campsites? Are we going to move them to one of the other sites, like perhaps up here to Shelly Ridge or to Conestoga over at Laughing Waters? Conestoga at Laughing Waters, I know it's supposed to be primitive, but that the latrine shelter is falling down. The question is, how are we going to keep from losing all of our Chester County people and not having to do what basically Manioc is having to do? They are moving St. John the Baptist Church, that was the Manioc Church, has now become Greenwood's charter school, to keep a school there.
I think the overall question, well, the question is how do we retain our Chester County members and keep them engaged? And it is by offering a compelling program for girls. It is by offering excellence for girls. It is by building out campsites where girls will continue to excel, will continue to have the Girl Scout tradition as well as new experiences. The proposal that was offered does include some busing. We know that there is a transportation issue that is accurate, but the one piece that we would like to remind our council is that we have a 9-county footprint, and our members are traveling from far distances across the county, across the council, to have these camp experiences. And so the transportation issue is not unique to Chester County. Again, we've been through this process over 4 years, and I know that the report is online, through the evaluation that happened a couple of years ago, there was a decision that was made to invest in the properties that we spoke about tonight. And so our goal is really to offer dynamic, compelling programs and camp experiences for girls, and do it at a high level, and do it in ways that we can afford.
I've seen so many camps close over the years, having been in Delaware County, having been Philadelphia County, having been Montgomery County, having been Freedom Valley, you guys have closing both Freedom Valley camps. Philadelphia already lost their camp. We lost Indian Run many, many, many years ago. My first camping experiences were Indian Run, not especially, but Indian Run, camping in Never Never Land, on the platforms, pitching our own tents. That doesn't seem to happen anymore.
Thank you. So we'll take a question, a text question. Why are we preparing girls for industry instead of being outside? There are other camps that offer industry connections. So that's a multi-pronged. First of all, we're preparing girls to have courage, confidence, and character to make the world a better place. And you know, whether it's in industry or through outdoor programming, it is a part of our mission. That's the first response. And we also have an obligation to prepare girls especially in the industries where we know that there's an underrepresentation of girls, and we have the ability and the resources to do something. So that's the first one. It should not be an either or. We should not have to make choices. Why are we doing one thing for girls as opposed to another thing for girls? If we have the capacity, we should do all things for girls because that's why we're here. So that's the first answer. The second answer is that this is, and we intentionally use the language and vocabulary outdoor program because the term camp is very commonly used. People can go to a camp in a church basement or a synagogue basement for any particular area. So this is investing in outdoor programming for girls, and it is not an either or. If we can, we will do as much as we can for all girls.
This is a very ambitious plan, and I hope that it meets, the goals that everybody has set up. One question I had was already on the text thing about the staffing. Especially if troops are going to be able to take advantage of some of the rich program, it's key that some of these staffing, whether they're through partnership or training, some of our own human resource talent in the council, I think is crucial to the success of this plan. My other question, though, was I don't remember the details of the survey. A lot of the capacity looks like it's increased through sharing sites, and I don't remember what the survey said about troops' willingness to do that.
If our experience has been, the only areas that we had talked about sharing sites was in some of the tent units. If we can reconfigure, if it's a 10 tent platforms, we can divide it into 5, and the sharing issue gets around the cooking shelter. So what we proposed in those scenarios is adding a second shelter. And we've done this in a number of councils, and it's actually been very successful. So it would give, double the number of troops potentially. And again, we're not proposing that for all of the units. We do have some of the year-round units. We're looking at the potential of 2 troop sharing, but the vast majority of them are really set up as single troop units.
Just for the record, in my opinion, the 2 shelters in the same space, that's still a sharing site. So I'm not too sure how that will go over with, especially older girls. Thank you.
Do we have another text question? No more? Okay, well, while they're working on that, we'll take a microphone question.
Okay, I've been looking over the data a lot, and I've noticed there's some inconsistencies in the data. The U.S. Census Bureau says that through the Penn State Data Center, that Chester County, Bucks County, and several other counties in the southern end of the council are going to be growing faster. We're going to have more girls, percentage-wise and numbers-wise. Everything up there looks great, but it's all about access. If our girls don't have access to these camps, and driving an hour plus is not going to do it for these guys. The leaders aren't going to do it, the parents aren't going to do it. You're going to lose people on the fringes of council. And no matter what you say, If the programs aren't within a half an hour, people aren't going to go. It doesn't matter how good they are. My question is, how are you going to address the access issue?
I think I'll return to the busing slide. I mean, I'll say we have not worked out the details of the finances or exactly where those points in the council would be, but we do have to offer increased access, and not just in one particular county. We need to, across the board, council-wide, make our programs available. And if that means a more complex busing system, then that's what we'll be looking to do. And then a point on the other piece, I do think the staff training, we see that that is a big need, and that we are going to need staff and partners who are trained in these very technical, specialized areas. And one of the items on a couple of the slides was increased support for troop and service unit use. And I think we see that in a variety of ways. It's some of the training that came up earlier. It's keeping that in mind as we look at the physical layout of campsites that we're developing, that we should have ease of access for staff members. But it's also in potentially providing some kits that troops could take traveling with them to support them in their activities. Maybe that's something we can emphasize for more local support.
First, I want to address the comment that Marlo made, and I agree that we need to work the progression issue. And getting people outdoors is a big step. And I would like to make the point that being close to home matters a lot, and getting people to be able to make that step. So again, transportation does not address that at all, because people were only going to go so far. But my question is, I think it's generally accepted across industry, business, nonprofits everywhere, that when you're taking on such a large and sweeping project and initiative as this, that you need to follow a plan, do, check, act, project schedule. So, I think we're pretty far into the planning program, and I'm asking you, are you going to do the check? And I would say specifically, as you disclose the financial part of this, are you going to look at what this program costs versus the costs that you say are not sustainable to keep all the camps open? And what is the cost-benefit ratio of what you're doing versus what you have? And the second financial follow-up question is, if you put this program in place, what will be the cost of a base camp, a base week of resident camp? And what will be the cost for a troop to visit for the weekend? And does it fit your market? Including transportation, if that is needed.
Right. Well, first of all, I would say that we don't have the specific answer to that question today. I will say that the Girl Scouts in Eastern Pennsylvania, as well as Girl Scouts nationally, have always offered camp programs at a subsidized rate, and it is our intention to continue to do so. If you compare the Girl Scout camp costs to any camp program, we are very competitive, because part of our mission is really to make sure that girls have access. So when people talk about access, access is not just transportation. Access is the ability to be able to afford to go.
So are you telling me that after you implement this, you don't expect any significant cost increase for a troop to go for a weekend or a girl to go for a week of resident camp?
No, I am not telling you that. I am saying that we do not have the specific answer to that question. However, we are committed to providing access, continuing to provide access to all girls in our council to our camp programs. And every camp program that is offered today is subsidized, and we are committed to continuing to do that.
And so do you know what your market will bear?
We don't have those specific questions right now.
You can build the Taj Mahal, but if we can't afford to come.
Thank you. We'll appreciate that comment. Okay, there's another question. I estimated about 120 new buildings. If there is money for that, why can't we afford to keep our camps open?
Yeah, I think that we have addressed this, and it is really a market portfolio decision that if we're going to have the best programs, and we're talking about staff, for example, if we need chemistry staff who are sophisticated and have advanced degrees in chemistry, we can't have that same person running to all of these camps every day. we're going to have a limited number of very sophisticated resources, and we've determined that really the only way to have a sustainable model is to limit it to a certain number of facilities that we can really administer in the highest quality. Yeah.
If I could just add here, once again, tonight's program and presentation really was about the vision. And I think we've been rather clear that that was what we wanted to present. We are going to take the next step. If the board approves this plan when it's presented, then we'll know what we're working with. Then we can start to get more detailed and more specific.
Well, my question is more as a follow-up to a couple of the previous questions, the last two. I don't understand how you can even generate a vision without, and after making a decision to close camps, about the financial aspects of this. You have a very broad scope plan for expansion. I'm not in the camp development business as our representative from Domaker here is, but I do understand, capital and operating costs are going to be much larger than they are currently. And I think you should, if you didn't already, and you mentioned that you have a sustainability, including cost approach to this plan, I don't understand why you didn't consider the fact that the modest administrative costs of keeping the camps that you're planning on closing, including Tweedale and Tilley, open, would be more than offset by the increased cost of building new housing, building all this capital expenditure and paying for it over time. Not to mention the cost of staffing all of this and maintaining all of this facilities. And I'm surprised that, or I'd like you to answer my question about whether you did consider this before you chose to close the camps.
The answer is yes, we did. We do have a probability of cost. We do know what this will cost. We do understand about the sustainability. We just need to share this with the board first, and then we're going to share it with everyone else. This is a broad future vision, a multi-year vision that we want to share with you tonight. And hopefully, if you have questions about the program, or if you have questions about the plans, you'll share those with us constructively so that we can understand those and perhaps do some tweaking of the plans before we present this to the board. So we hope you would, share in that with us.
So in the spirit of transparency then, you should have made us aware of those costs, those comparisons of costs before you announced the closure of the camps. Is that not true?
If I may add something, as the group has said, we don't have the final numbers on costs, and we won't until we get bids to actually build these out. But we have made educated decisions here. We have looked at all the camps, and our goal here is to serve girls. We're all here to serve girls. We want to serve girls in the future. Our camps right now, every year, the girls that go to our camps, the numbers are going down. And we can't afford to keep all the camps we've got open and keep them running and have our numbers continue to go down. So what we're trying to do is put a vision together that will keep girls involved, will keep our older girls involved, we'll get more girls into Girl Scouting, and we'll be able to help more overall. So that's the plan. And the truth is, to pay for part of this, we're going to have to divest ourselves of some of the camps. You heard about those decisions last year, I believe, at this time, and we haven't made any decisions as to sell camps, to mothball camps. Part of that depends on the real estate market. We're trying to sell camps to Natural Lands Trust to keep the open lands. We're trying to do things that are right in the Girl Scout way. So I don't want you all to think that, here's the board, they're bound and determined to shut Toakani and Tweedale because we don't like it. I love Tweedale. That's the only place I've really camped. And I don't want to close that camp. But we made educated decisions. And I don't want you all to be so angry that you don't think that people really put a lot of time and effort into it. And I understand you have questions, and we'll continue to answer it. But I wanted you to understand where we've been coming from. And our real goal is to serve girls going forward. Everybody loves what they've done all their life and every camp they've gone to, and they want to keep their camp, but we have to look forward. And that's really what we're trying to do for the future. future of the council.
So we'll take a text question. Year-round housing for staff. Will there be year-round housing for staff? And the simple answer to that is yes. And we did.
No, that's not what the question says.
Oh, will there be year-round? Sorry, there's a big glare over there. Yes, we did consider year-round housing for staff. That was a big consideration. And will there be year-round staff? My guess is probably. Yeah. So there will be. Okay, now we'll take a question from the microphone.
Hello. I did miss a little part when you were talking about Shelly Ridge. I know one of the things that was mentioned was service unit support. And I'm going on the premises that that means service unit camping at Shelly Ridge. But we were looking to increase that ability. I understood that you said the number of beds that would be available for that would be 180. Is that correct? Or around that? Okay, but my question is, a lot of our service units are larger than that. Already at this point, one of the things I love about service unit camporees is it does offer progression. It allows your new leaders to camp with experienced leaders. It allows your daisies to be able to camp with older girls. This is one of the things that I absolutely love. My concern is, and question, has this been taken into consideration when planning out beds and cabins for these other locations? We're getting less camps, but are we getting more ability for service units to do this? And how is that going to be possible when we're only increasing year-round usage by 2 troops? What is the troop size? Oh, sorry, a side question. When you're talking troop sizes, what are we talking number-wise?
Well, the units that we propose at all of the camps vary significantly in terms of size, from a typical small unit of about 14 to 16 campers up to a unit that could house 30, 32 campers. So
right.
that varies dramatically. Our intent, particularly with the 3 major camps, is that by the increase in capacity that we're doing, that those camps could easily sustain the kinds of camporees that you're currently doing. We didn't envision here that we were going to build enough capacity to support a large camporee.
Well, at this time, we have about 130 service units. Divided that by 3, 4 camps, you're not going to get every service unit allowed, and I understand that. Our service unit has never gotten into the draw because we are limited by size of which camps we can use. And I'm concerned that we're losing a portion of what we can do to help offer these new troops to some of these younger kids. When you did mention in one of them that you were moving from 3 to 5 troops, an increase from 3 to 5 troops per night. If you're talking that that's 15, you're talking only an increase of 30 beds.
That was for year-round units only.
Okay, so we're not offering service unit camporees year-round?
No, you'll have the option. No, you'll have the option of offering it year-round, but we weren't going to build. There's no way we could build enough capacity at all of the camps to sustain what I believe was about 12 to 14 weekends of camporees. But certainly, for example, at Laughing Waters, with the number of units that we're going to have available, you could be running camporees all winter long.
And I think that's a very helpful comment, actually, and a really kind of practical application of the program we're trying to apply. So I thank you for that and appreciate that practical piece. If there are things like that, and also the comment we got before about sharing troop space and how it does or doesn't work for you, those are the practical pieces we really want to hear. So even if you don't get a chance to come to the mic tonight, if you would submit those comments, thoughts as they come up to you later, we very much appreciate it. And one other piece, we did have that troop and service unit support at this property, and I think that also goes to the staff and to these kits that we're potentially making available.
We're going to take one from the, we're going to take a text message, we're going to take a text message, but we need to get the screen back up real quick. The text is, with focused campsites, there does not involve a diverse groups of campers.
Does somebody want to clarify that question?
It could have been text. from off-site.
Gotcha.
So if they hurt you, they might respond, actually. But it says with focused campsites, there does not involve a diverse group of campers. If I'm interpreting the question right, that is an incorrect conclusion. The camp, Laughing Waters in particular, that campsite will have multiple programs from wellness and sustainability to equestrian to sports to the health and wellness. And so if you're a camper there, you can actually sign up for one program or a series of programs. And so that will be the response, which is that the vision is to include simultaneity of use of our campsites.
The other part of that is, as Marla mentioned, there's a main focus for every camp, but other programs will continue on that site as well. So it's not going to be everybody at Laughing Waters doing health and wellness, for example. That'll be a focus at Laughing Waters. It won't be the only focus. There'll be general camp programs still going on. So that will allow for diversity in a variety of different ways.
And we'll take a question from the mic.
Okay, let me, if I could interrupt real quick. I've asked that if you haven't asked a question, if you get to move up to the front of the mic, but I don't want to keep anybody from asking a question. I want everybody to have your turn. I know if you got in line, but if you haven't asked a question, please come on up. And if you ask one and you're in line, please stay in line. But we want to make sure that everybody who has a question gets a chance to speak.
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Karen D'Augusto. I'm a service unit manager for Brandywine Valley Service Unit in Chester County, in southern Chester County. One of the things that concerns me in this vision, and maybe we can solve this problem, is that we use Camp Tweedale for quite a few service unit events. And I was wondering if this vision would include sending buses down to southern Chester County to have all my trips in buses, and would you do that in this vision? Would you come and get us all and bring us over there? We have about 600.
This vision includes transportation, which allows access. I don't see why not. I don't see why there would be a reason why we would not do that.
The other problem that we have is that many of our girls are in sports and in activities, band, sports, and often they have to come to the service unit program or any Girl Scout program and then leave and then come back. Okay, and they have to leave and then they have to come back because, as you know, Girl Scouts are extremely active in the community, and therefore having to go an hour and a half may deny them accessibility to these programs because they have to go to band or sports, and then they have to come back. So could you actually provide transportation for them to go back to their sports and then come back to the camp? I know you don't have the answer.
Well, it's not that I don't know the answer. I think one of the things that I said is that we want to maintain Girl Scout traditions, and we will do so within the framework of the Girl Scouts, which is the promise of the law. One of the laws is to use resources wisely. So I don't think that it will be a wise decision for individual girls who have individual commitments for the Girl Scouts to use their resources to accommodate those individual commitments. I will say that our goal and a part of this vision is to provide compelling, competitive experiences for girls. And as we know, girls make choices all the time. And so our goal is to create an outdoor program where girls are making choices to be a part of our programming. We do have a number of people.
One thought is that in this vision, is it possible for the Girl Scouts of Southern Chester County to do fundraising to keep Tweedale open?
So I'll answer that as a fundraising attorney, and I will say that actually the law in Pennsylvania is that the nonprofit must control its own fundraising activities. So any fundraising would have to be done under the auspices of GSEP as a group, and that we would clearly want that coordinated through our fundraising department to get maximum dollars for our impact. That's a no. That's a individuals may not solicit on our behalf without consent from the overall organization. And so we would do that as a strategic plan, and we would hope to grab as much of our membership in to participate in that fundraising with us. But that's something we want to approach as a comprehensive plan that we've mapped out ahead in the way we've been discussing the financial plan for fundraising. Oh, we'll take a question from the text. The question is, what is summer troop camping? It sounded as if all camps are residential. So I think the answer is that the camps will continue to offer residential programming, but that will not be exclusive, and they will still be available for troop and service unit use to the extent that there's space. Okay.
Just want to comment, as a camping professional, camping right now is down across the country. And one of the ways Girl Scouts councils are reaching out to groups is to have multiple types of camping happening simultaneously on Girl Scout sites. So that does include troop camping in the summer. At times we don't typically have it, as well as day camping over the winter months when there might be a winter break or a spring break and things like that. So using your resources wisely and well means thinking differently as well.
Good evening. I'm Barbara Branson. I am from Delaware County. Shout out to Delaware County. The service unit there is fabulous. My first point of clarification, if you will, we use this term sustainability interchangeably. And as a school teacher focused on vocabulary, could we be more clear when we use that term, whether or not we're talking about environmental sustainability, financial sustainability, recruitment sustainability? I just think that it leaves a lot of open issues when we use that term without clarifying first. My second question, I guess, point, we talk about partnerships, passionate about developing partnerships with the Girl Scouts. I'm wondering, however, when I see some of the facilities, if we won't be duplicating some of the efforts that we would also be benefiting from having partnerships in. Just a thought. My real question for all of you, and Anne, thank you so much, because you hit the nail on the head. We're about girls. This room is full of courageous women with tons of character, in case you haven't figured that out. The question is this board decision an all or nothing decision? Could they decide not to go forward with this plan and ask for a new plan? And if that new plan is asked for, could we then maybe take our hindsight and apply it to answer another set of questions?
You know, it's a very good question. Our board of directors works as a board that asks questions and does not just accept whatever's put in front of them. And there'll be lots of questions, and this presentation, which the board members haven't seen unless they're part of this committee or they're here tonight or they're here Thursday night, it'll be the first time that some of them will have seen it. And I can guarantee you that everybody on the board's not just going to nod their head and say it's okay. And there'll be lots of questions. I can't guarantee that it's going to be passed or not. I would hope that the board gives the committee the respect to understand that the committee's put in lots of time and effort, and this isn't just, you know, kind of an off the top of their head plan. But to answer your question, there's no guarantee that the board will say, yes, this is what we're going to do.
So we'll take a text message. How do you propose to deal with the DEP and other environmental protection agencies when building in wetland areas in regular and 100-year floodplains? Actually, we've done a lot of topographical information. I'll let Greg answer this question more thoroughly, but we hope we have not shown any development in any of the wetland areas or in the 100-year floodplains.
Yeah, basically all of that was taken into consideration when we looked at the basic layout of the plan. So all of the wetlands and laughing waters have actually been mapped. The areas that we've developed at Moseywood, for example, have all been outside of those wetland areas as well. So yeah, that has been taken into consideration. Obviously, when we get ready to actually move forward with the development, there'll be a series of code and regulatory issues and site plan approval issues that we'll have to move forward with.
Now, I should also note that these issues and the expenses associated with them are one of the main reasons why we're focusing on a smaller number of camps. As many of you are probably aware, there's, for example, a dam at Hidden Falls that cost the council a lot of money to maintain.
Hi, yes. Totally different question, this time focused on your vision for the programming for the future. As a scout, I was privileged enough to go to a national wider opportunity and an international wider opportunity, and they were very different experiences. The international one was in a field of tents with people from all over the world, and it was very primitive. We had cold showers and obviously not flush toilets. But the national one was held at a university, and going back to the previous question at the microphone, are we really in need of specialized scientists at our resident camps? Can these girls not be encouraged to build some writing skills that apply to wider opportunities at university campuses? And you know, if you need something like that, can it be a partnership with the university with someone who comes in, or maybe girls that go out on transportation and access to nearby universities? I have a concern that, you know, girls don't need as many things. They don't need their cell phones at camp. They don't need 5 things to plug in and curling irons, and that's not being stressed. And the closer we get to university programming, the closer we get to university campus facility.
More question you want to raise after that?
Have you thought about the similarity to university-based wider ops with what you're doing? And you're moving away from a traditional camping, resident camp experience and towards a university-structured facility and programming.
Yeah, I would say that that is not an accurate conclusion. As you saw on each one of the sites, there is primitive camping, there's tent camping that will also be offered for our girls. I think when the vision was presented, the first slide is to maintain the Girl Scout traditions. And so that is a part of the Girl Scout tradition that will be maintained. Again, there was a question about should we invest in, or it was similar to should we invest in the outdoors or industry. For our girls, when we have the resources, we will not make those types of choices. And, you know, the girls are from all over, and they come with different experiences and different expectations. For us to be competitive and for us to meet the needs of today's girl as well as tomorrow's girl, we have to be a little more dynamic in our thinking and dynamic in what we offer and provide to girls.
I'll add to that especially for the camp properties that we presented tonight, the vision is to create more outdoor activities and to have the architecture lead into the outdoors. The goal is not to create a kind of uniform university-looking structure. A lot of the structures we've asked Greg to draft have an overlap with the outside. So for example, the Performing Arts Building has an inside feature, but it opens up into an outside amphitheater where girls can be in the trees and watching. So for those pieces, we'd really also like to hear again about how we can do that overlap, how we can increase things like ceramics and chemistry without trapping girls inside. The goal is for them to be outside implementing that technical expertise in the field. Okay, we'll do one from text. How long will it take to make these changes, and how will the other properties operate in the meantime?
I think, as we mentioned before, this is all hinging upon the board saying yay or nay to this particular plan. And that's one of the reasons we have not really spent a lot of time addressing this particular issue up until now. We've created a vision, we've created some preliminary plans, and once it's presented to the board, then we'll know whether they want us to go back to the drawing board or whether we can go ahead and start to focus on some of these other details, if you will.
And the other piece that I would add to that is that we have committed to bringing to the membership a timeline around how we use all of the properties that are within our portfolio. As with any construction project or program, there is a supply and demand issue that has to be balanced. Our goal is not to have less offerings while we are building for the future. It is to maintain what we have until we can offer more. So I will put that out there.
Okay, we only have a couple minutes before our time frame, but what I want to do is the 4 people who are standing up there will ask your questions, if you will, but after that we won't be able to answer any more questions. But we will take all your questions and answer the ones on the website that are consistently the same questions that people are asking. So please go ahead so we can move forward.
I'm an older girl leader and I've had increasing trouble getting camp space for troop camping. My question is, if all this goes through as planned, how many beds are we adding and how many are we taking away?
I don't have the exact number with me tonight. We're losing, as I want to remember, we're losing about 300 total beds, but we've got to remember that we've been operating at less than 30% in terms of overall capacity. What we are doing is dramatically increasing, particularly on a year-round basis, the number of units available for troops, and we outline that on each plan in the presentation. So there'll be significantly more troop opportunities than there are now.
We can end with the last question that's up here, so we'll let the 3 ladies who are at the mic ask their questions, and then we'll finish with the last text ones up here.
So 10 years ago at Shelly Ridge, we had about 200 campers. The ranger at the time had to build new shelters and everything. We also had about 15 buses servicing the camp. We lost funding and lost our buses, and we had less than 5 buses. We lost about 60% of our campers. So we keep talking about busing these girls in from Tweedout, but that failed here at Shelly Ridge. And I'm just concerned because the Girl Scout motto is to be prepared, yet we're closing Tweedout, we're not prepared about what we're going to do with these girls. We keep saying, oh, we'll bus them in, we'll figure something out. But until it's prepared, why are we closing the camp?
I think the easiest answer to that is that we are committed to making sure we have new capacity before we close old capacity. That we will not close camp until we have a place for those girls to stay and in another location.
So then Tweedout's staying open for now.
We are going to announce in the fall a more permanent timeline, but we have not made any plans to close Tweedout yet. And yes, my understanding is that it will stay open until we have replacement capacity in other locations. And that timeline, more firm timeline, will be announced in the fall.
With regards to Camp Tweedout, and I'm sure you've done a lot of analysis in terms of like which programs build most quickly, which camps were at capacity this summer. My understanding is that Camp Tweedout really hits pretty high numbers, much higher than most of the other camps. I would actually be very interested to see the final results, and I hope that that's something that you would make available to all of us as we're all following this. But I guess my question is that one of my understanding is that some of the most popular Tweedout programs is because of its location and proximity to Baltimore and Washington, and that there's a trip, one that to Assateague Island that's very, very popular that fills up within days. There's a lot of very popular programs like that that aren't going to be really be able to offer at the camps that are so much further away. So I guess, and I didn't see that in any of the master designs about like trips that are going to be planned for many of those camps.
On that point, I do think trips are part of the program plan that we did hear, especially from older girls, that part of increasing their challenge is these long-term trips. And I myself did a wider opportunity that was phenomenal and changed my view of the world. I think that's really an area where we can offer some sophisticated programming to keep girls involved.
My first question, well, my point is, you've been offered a plethora of information starting a year ago at the Mendenhall meeting regarding Camp Tweedale, a lot of those facts and figures, surrounding area. This has continued throughout the year on Facebook, on the property blog. We've got letters from parents, girls, people in the community. Why are you virtually ignoring all of that information? Why are you unwilling to reevaluate your survey and whatever information you've used and reconsider keeping Camp Tweedale open? And why do you feel that closing Camp Tweedale is in the best interest of the girls of Chester County and all the other girls who want to participate in Camp Tweedale?
I think the answer is that we are willing to evaluate it, we have heard it, but as Natalie expressed, the council covers a wide footprint and there are a lot of constituents.
All of the information that we receive from the number of members throughout the council, we read, our board members read, we discuss, we evaluate, we assess. We are not ignoring, and we have not ignored one piece of correspondence that has come in regarding our outdoor program. We may not agree with what is presented, but we are not ignoring it. And as far as our interest in girls in Chester County, we are interested in girls in Chester County. We're interested in girls and serving girls in all of our 9 counties. So you can be assured that every piece of information that comes in, 1 gets read and 2 gets discussed and vetted.
Okay. And so, would you be willing to open up a property committee meeting that included board members and allow more information to be presented on Camp Tweedale to that entire group?
The information has been presented to the entire group.
Well, you're saying that the board isn't aware of this plan, and the first they're going to hear about it is, what, the 27th or Thursday night is the first time they're going to hear anything about it. So it appears that they're going to hear the information that you've put together, but they're not going to be hearing any of the other information that you've been provided. It's all been packaged, and it's going to be given to them in the most positive light on that reflector plan.
Again, that is not true. As the CEO, I know that there was one correspondence in particular, and I believe it was at the Mendenhall meeting, where every board member was given a packet, and some of the board members who were not there were packets were sent to our office, and those packets were individually forwarded to board members. So board members have received the packets that have been directed to them. So that's the first statement. The second piece is that the board will be presented a recommendation from the property committee, and that recommendation will include input that we have received from our membership. The town hall meetings, this one as well as the one that will be on Thursday, is basically before we present a recommendation to the board, is to make sure that in addition to the vetting that we have had as a property committee, which is comprised of volunteers, and I think Kathy went through all of the other information, it also has, when we present this vision, input that we've received from our membership.
So would you allow a group or a part of the membership to make a presentation to the board directly on this subject?
To make a presentation, well,
without it being sanitized through your process of,
excuse me.
Yes.
The board, I believe, almost all the board was at the Mendenhall meeting, and for quite a few members. I know the board has been given every single letter I've received from all the girls and every troop leader who sent me letters, and I probably had 40 just in the last probably 2 months. And the board, you guys in Chester County have done a great job of letting your position be known. And there's no doubt in my mind that every single member on the board knows what the position of the Southern Chester County folks is with regard to Camp Tweedale. I don't believe that another opportunity for the Camp Tweedale group to present to the board is going to be worthwhile, especially because I believe that the group has presented to the property committee twice, or had one phone call and a meeting, a specific meeting.
I believe it was only one phone call.
So I understand your position, and I am sorry about the situation as it is, but I don't believe another giving the Chester County group an opportunity to present to the board will make a difference. But I will tell you this: I will make sure that I personally explain to the board on September 27th the position of the Chester County group. You can send me whatever you want. I will make sure it is given to every single board member and that they understand before a vote's done on this presentation today, that they understand your position. If you want to send a letter, I'll be happy to read it and take the time so everybody understands your position, because we're supposed to be about listening to everybody's opinion and making a decision that's good for all. So we will definitely do that.
Okay, thank you.
And I would just like to add that since this committee was formed, there's been a board report at every board meeting, and there are many members of the board on this committee, and some of us former board members. And I will tell you that we sometimes were the bulk of the presentation at the board meeting. So everything that we've been presented, we have presented to the board, in addition to all the packages that were sent out, etc. And in addition to the Mendenhall meeting was reported at the board for those that didn't attend. So I do want you to know that there is a lengthy property committee report at every board meeting. And we'll take the last question. Why are camp directors of GSEB camps on the board that is making decisions?
Oh, it should read not on the board? All right, well, I'll answer it both ways. So the program subcommittee, as a matter of governance, is a subcommittee of the property committee. The property committee reports to the board. Again, as a matter of corporate governance, it's the board of directors who have the fiduciary duty and the obligation to supervise the corporate assets. So they are the ones who vote on final decisions. They're allowed to delegate that authority and the task of researching certain tasks to their subcommittees. So the staff are sitting on the program subcommittee that makes recommendations up to the property committee. The property committee also likewise makes recommendations up, but it's the board of directors that has the full voting authority. So in general, you don't usually put staff on the governing board because they're inherently in conflicting positions in the corporate structure because the board's charged with supervising the staff. But in the same way, we of course want to get feedback from the staff because they're the ones on the ground with the experience. So that's the way the structure works, is they report back up to the board.
Okay, so I want to end this meeting by thanking all of you who came tonight to give us your voice and your thoughts, and for showing how much you care about our council and our girls going forward. I know this has not been easy for most people. I want to let you know that we want to know your concerns. We want to know what is important to you. I ask, and I really appreciate you all asking the hard questions and making us think so that we make the right decision, because without the questions you won't be able to make the right decisions for everybody. I ask that you take an opportunity to go online, and I'll have to have some help here from staff. When will they be able to see this program online? Okay, I ask that you go online and look at this again if you have the time, and give us your feedback with anything that you think, after looking at it again or thinking about it for a couple days, that you think just makes no sense, or something that you think ought to be added in. Please email those comments to us. It's really important that we get your feedback, and I really appreciate your time. Natalie, did you want to say something?
Yeah, sure. I would just add that after the last meeting, the Mendenhall meeting last year, we posted responses to frequently asked questions. We will do the same this time. We also created a property blog and an opportunity or a place where people could send their questions, and there will be instructions on that also. So we thank you very much for coming tonight. The last question up here is there a way to submit comments or questions after these meetings? The answer is yes. There is a way to submit comments and questions after these meetings. That information will be posted on our website. It can continue to go into our property blog and sort of envelope for questions. So thank you.